And this is a great topic that we're going to dive into. So I want to know, there she is
Hello.
it, hello, hello. So this topic is really awesome. So I want to know how many of you know of or even, study the law of attraction. How many of you out there are familiar with the law of attraction, and do you practice it? That's a question we would love to know. If this is something that you practice, drop a one in the comments. Let us know that yes, this is something that I actually um, do practice. So I don't know what's going on with the lighting.
This is an
Um,
awesome topic. I'm excited. And how many of you have read the book The Secret? That seemed to be like the book that kind of opened the door to this topic.
yes. Who has seen that movie or watched or read the book? It's awesome. And but
But we're not,
there's
I was going to say, we're not talking about putting a card on your vision board and just like, it's going to appear on my driveway. That's not what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
that's the thing, because there's a little bit more involved here, and that's one misconception that we all get. But how many of you are intentional creators? I'd love to know that. How many of you intentionally create? How many of you, actually visualize or write out, or, you have an idea of what you want in your life and actively pursue that? Just curious, how many of you, if you're one of those people that are out there that do that, drop a number two in the comments. Let's see where you are. Let's see where our intentional manifestors are. Because it's kind of interesting how our minds work, because they really, we have our subconscious mind is basically what's driving, steering the wheel, right? It's what's doing everything on a regular basis. It is our autopilot, and we have to learn how to tap into the powerhouse, which is really is our we have to get in deeper than that autopilot and tap into that part of our mind that really does the work and really helps to make things happen. And so there's 6 steps here that we're going to share with you on how you can do that, how you can tap into that deeper part of yourself and attract things to you. When we're talking about attracting things to you, it's not like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to think this and it's going to just happen. There's a lot involved here when it comes to manifesting, because when we talk about the law of attraction, like attract likes, yes, we do. There is energy out there that does attract things to you when you are laser focused on what that is. But what happens a lot, ladies, and how many of you do this? You have something that you really want in your life to happen, but then all of these doubts come in, and then you start to look at your circumstances and you start to see how it's not happening, and so all of these other thoughts that you have end up causing resistance to what you want. Does that make sense? So it ends up putting a block up for it. So those things aren't showing up because we ourselves are continuing to block that from happening. So let's dive into some of these steps on what you can do to help become an intentional creator. Because hey, all of us ladies who are in business for ourselves, we know we have some goals. Who has some goals out there? Drop a goals in the comments. We have goals, right? We have goals. So the first step in all of this is owning it. You want to own it. You want to take responsible for where you're at right now and what's going on. And believe it or not, this gives you the power to create. It really does. We tend to just kind of blame it on other people, our circumstances, where we're at, but we have to own it. We can't, if we keep on pointing the fingers out that way, we're not going to see the results that we want. So
You will
you've
stay
got,
stuck.
exactly. You'll stay stuck. So, we have to be responsible for our own actions and for what is happening in our life. So having what we don't want, or, not having what we want yet, is really up to us. So you need to consider the choices that you have made up to this point and how they relate to where you are right now. Do you have something to say, Lisa? Go.
Nope.
Sorry, did you?
I'm
Oh,
just
okay, yeah.
agreeing.
Yeah, so you need to own it. All right. It's really important to own it. Own it, ladies. Own where you're at. Own the
And it's
fact that
okay. This is the hardest part. because we don't want to accept that we're responsible for where we're at in our life. That's a hard pill to swallow. But until you can truly do that, you're going to stay limited and stuck with that.
Yeah, and the part and the power is in owning it too, because when you own it, you can realize, oh wait, but whoa. If I own this, then that means I have the freedom to change it. Like it's up to me if it wanted to have a different result. So that is super freeing. And then you
It
got to
really
own
is.
it, and then and then you got to forgive yourself too, ladies. You got to forgive if you're at a place where you're at that you don't like the circumstances where you're at, then you need to understand owning it is one thing, but then you've got to forgive yourself as well, because if we don't know what we don't know, then we don't know, right? So, but as we're learning and we're growing, then we have the power to change that. So owning it is key.
It really is. And, part of that too is, if you think about where you are in your life, oftentimes it's what we expected. We get what we expect, right? It's like, I don't think I could ever live in a, $2 million house. I don't expect that for myself. So maybe you live in an apartment. Maybe that's how you grew up, or that's what you expected. Like that's what you thought you could get. And that's where we need to kind of push the needle here is, don't be afraid to dream bigger. And sometimes we want to play small. It's like, okay, I'm going to do this. And it's like, I just want $100 a month more. And that would just help me get by. And that's, I'm going to really focus on that. And that's cool if you got to take baby steps, but don't be afraid to dream bigger. And if any of y'all are Joel Osteen fans, I'm a big Joel Osteen fan. He's always on in my car. And he basically talks about this. It's like, little dreams get little things, right? And it's like the universe is here to bless us, but you got to ask. You got to believe. You got to put it out there. So that's just, so dream. And I feel like a lot of us are afraid to dream bigger because, as kids and growing up, it's like, oh, that's not realistic for you. Like where you didn't come from that. And, people try to squash that, right? And if you think of children, like my kids have all kinds of massive dreams, right? They dream for the biggest stuff, and that's what kids are good at doing. And then adults come along and squash it, and then you carry that the rest of your life.
I know, right? Yeah. So yeah, good one, Lisa. Good.
So step 2. All right, this is a hard one too. Is you got to get clear. What the heck do you want? This is a hard one. How many of you struggle with this going, I don't even know what I want? And part of that is because you're afraid to even think bigger, dream bigger, and be honest with yourself what you really do want. Like what you really do want. Like, if a magic genie came to your front door and said, I will give you any life you want, what does that look like? I'm sure It would be a lot bigger than what you're saying right now. It'd be, it'd be something. It would be something different than what you're thinking is possible now, right? If there was like no possibility that this couldn't happen, what would that be for you?
You know what? Lisa just tapped into something right there. She said, what if there was no? Here's the thing. There is no. Okay, and what I mean by that, when it comes to the way that the laws of the universe have been set up by our amazing creator, however you believe, whatever, but the way that it's been set up is that everything, there is no. So if we are putting out those thoughts and energy of, I don't want this, what is being understood and what the energy of that, what backs up that energy is, I want this. Okay. So whatever you're focusing on, what you don't want is what's going to show up. It's a hard concept to understand, but if you hear what Lisa just said about, well, there is no, then you realize that your thoughts, whatever you're thinking, is what is going to be brought about, whether it's good or bad. Because like, even if you're saying, no, I don't want this, the energy that is put out is that this is what you want. It's a strange concept, but oh my gosh, Lisa, that was good. So yeah, getting clear on what you want and what you don't want. You want to be clear on that, right?
Just don't focus on what you don't want.
Yeah, exactly. Bless and release that.
And I made that mistake for a while, focusing on like what I didn't want, right? And what happens is you get more of that. Like, I know I don't want this thing, and it keeps showing up, and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah,
I said I don't want that thing.
And Job is a great example, Job in the Old Testament, he says, everything that I feared has come to pass. And so it's like, if that is, there's so many good nuggets in the Bible, man. We've got some really great wisdom there, right? But to think about that, just that one concept, that everything that I feared has come to pass. That's why we don't want to be focusing on those fears. That's why we want to be getting clear on what it is that we do want to see in our life, like Lisa said. So yeah, what do you want? What do you want, ladies, right? What do you want? And why do you want it? What's it going to do for you, right? What do you want? Ask yourself those things. Yeah, and then the next step is to just decide, right? You need to make a decision. You need to make a decision on this. And you need to be intentional. You need to be intentional here, and you have to understand that deciding means that you're making a decision, right? You're making a decision, and you're making a commitment to that decision. Commitment to your desire is what seals the deal, okay? This is what's going to, it's going to help that plane at some point land. So you've got to make a decision, and you got to be clear. You got to state your intentions. This is what I want. And this is, and then the cool thing is, you got to let go at that point. Well, we're not to that point yet, but you got to decide. We're not there yet, are we? Are we at the next step? Am I already giving that away?
No, but yeah, you do have to decide. Everything starts with a decision. But the problem is we go, okay, I want this. And then we get in our head and go, but what if, oh my God, how am I going to do that? And then you start trying to analyze it and figure it all out. But the really cool thing is when you make a decision, like you have decided this is what's happening. You put your stake in the ground, you put your foot down, and it's like, this is what's happening, and you go after it. But that's the part a lot of people miss. It's like, okay, I know what I want, but then you're all wishy-washy. It's like, oh, maybe, but if it doesn't work out in a year, then it's not for me. And we give ourselves excuses, right? We give ourselves excuses. And you got to make the decision. You got to let go of how it's going to happen. Because what's really cool is when you make that decision with clarity, right? The universe kind of conspires and things just start happening. But unfortunately, well, maybe not unfortunately, but it's not always on your calendar. And this is where people struggle too. It's not always on your calendar. You might put that out there. You might work your butt off for this thing. And 2 years later, you're like, what the heck? Why is this not happening for me? And it's not always on your calendar. And there's reasons for that. I remember where I live today, I dreamed of moving here for years and years and years. And it was like, I knew it was happening. Like this was happening, but it wasn't when I wanted it. I had to be patient, right?
Right.
So you have to be patient, but decide.
Yes. Very good one. Yes.
And I think part of that too is a piece missing is, well, actually I won't give that one away. It's coming up. But the next one is you got to believe it, right? And this is a hard one too. All these steps are hard because it's having faith, right? It's having faith that this will happen. But you got to believe this will happen. And I have a story to share with you about this. But do you believe this is going to happen? And if you're struggling with this is where affirmations come in. You got to tell yourself over and over and over until you really start believing it, if you struggle with believing it. Because I know sometimes that's hard, especially if it's a big dream. And you're like, can that really happen for me? Like little old me, like, can I really do that? Right? But you have to believe that you're worth it. You're deserving, right? And we all are. But we often get in our head with our stories and go, oh, I made this mistake. I was this horrible person when I was a teenager and I don't deserve anything. All these, you're revisiting all your old stories, why you can't have something, right? You can't have some part of your life change.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'll share a story of believing it. And some of you might have heard my story. And it's funny how do you ever notice how when life happens, you can go back and put the pieces of the puzzle together and you're like, oh my God, that makes perfect sense. Like how cool. So we're going back I'm almost 40. So we're going back almost.
The dreams out there. Look at all the dreams that people are, yay, I love it. Keep your dreams coming. Okay.
Keep them coming, inspire each other.
Yeah.
So going back almost 20 years ago, I'm almost 40 now. So I was about 20 and I had severe digestive illness and I had fibromyalgia. I was in excruciating pain, and I actually had to leave my job as a dental hygienist. I literally lived at the chiropractor and the massage therapist and the physiotherapist like 3 to 5 times a week so I could function. Like, it was so bad. And if any of you have fibromyalgia, you know what that is like, right? Any kind of chronic or mystery hidden illness. And I remember in that time frame of my life thinking, and I knew what I had, and the doctors basically said, no, you don't get better from this. You just got to deal with it and figure it out. And I remember thinking, no, like, I was healthy, and then something happened, and I'm not, and I'm going to figure out what went wrong, and I'm going to, fix this, right? And I was determined. It was like, you weren't telling me otherwise. I 100% believed I would get better. And I went and I did every natural, voodoo, weird thing, you name it. I tried it all. I spent thousands and thousands of dollars. I went on juice fasts, and oh my God, I went, and you name it. I had it all. Like, I did it all. Like, I didn't care. I was getting better. And I remember walking into this doctor who did muscle testing, if any of you are familiar with that, and he did muscle testing. And he basically explained what was going on. He said I had leaky gut and digestive problems, and it was causing all the pain, and he explained it all. And I remember thinking, oh my God, that makes perfect sense. So he gives me this one pill. After I've been taking hundreds upon hundreds of different pills, I had literally a counter full of stuff.
Wow.
And I remember him giving me this one thing and going, this will heal your digestive system and all the pain will go away. And I remember walking out of the door with like 3,000 belief. Like, it was just like, this pill is going to make me better. I didn't Google anything. I didn't think anything. I didn't doubt it. I 100% believe this pill was my answer. 3 months later, 3 years of suffering was gone. No pain, no digestive problems, 100% better. And to this day, 20 years later, I'm still well. Thank God. But it was like, I look back now and it's like, I don't even know. Was it the placebo effect? Like, did that one pill really do it? After trying so many things. But I believed with certainty, like there was no doubt in my mind that pill would not help me. And I honestly believe, looking back, that is what got me well, is that belief.
Wow.
It's powerful.
Yeah. It is powerful. And it's so true. I mean, what we do believe is what we're going to achieve in our lives, right? So belief is so important, and let's move on to the next one, because part of belief is this next step is you've got to become it. Okay. So you have to become that which you desire to be. You got to be it to see it. And I know that's, and we're not talking about faking it till you make it here. We're talking about actually seeing yourself and feeling yourself as already achieving this. And I've given this example before when I've talked about, the reason why I talk about this one is because it's so easy and relatable to understand. But before we actually lived at the beach, of course, it was something that I had, an intention that I had put out there. And in my visualization, I could see myself walking, and I could feel myself, touching that cold sand with my feet. I could feel the wind in my hair. I could feel the experience, and I could feel how happy I felt. And though that is what we're talking about, becoming it, is it's already living that in your mind, what it feels like to be that already, and to become that. Because here's one thing we have to be really careful of when we are putting out an intention and a desire, is if we, and visualizing helps us to be able to become this and see it. But we have to be careful and understand that our visualizations it's our imagination, and it may not happen, and we have to let go of the how it's actually going to happen, and how it's going to, we have to what is the word I'm looking for, Lisa? We have to detach from the result, the outcome. Mm-hmm. Yes, we have to detach from that. We believe it to be, and we feel it to be, and we become that, but we detach ourselves from actually it's how it's actually going to be brought to us. So, and I know that's kind of a hard thing to understand, but it really, so when we say become it, you want to become what it would feel like for you to already have that into your life. How would it feel to already have your own home? How would it feel to live in Arizona? Thinking of some of the dreams. How would it feel to already have achieved, walking on that stage? Can you see yourself walking on the stage with all the lights around you, with just what that feels like in your body, how you're dressed, how your demeanor is? That's what we're talking about, becoming it. So it's not faking it, it's actually becoming it, allowing that to become part of who you are and feeling that result. And that's really, really super important here. This is one part of the secret when we watch the movie The Secret or read the book that is actually left out. Okay, this is one part of it that's left out, and this is crucial. If you cannot feel it, really what's happening is, if you don't become that and you don't feel it, you're actually not connecting that belief. You're not connecting the head and heart here. Okay, and what ends up happening with that is that action doesn't tend to happen. We end up mentally resisting things when we can't feel it. It's like you have faith that it could happen, right? But then at the same time, you're kind of like saying, yeah, but you're kind of saying, yeah, but you can believe it, but you can't really, because you can't feel yourself already achieving it. So you've got to play a little mind game with yourself and allow yourself to already become that person and feel what it feels like to become that person. Talk about a magic pill. Of course there's no, it's not really magic, right? I mean, it's a way that the laws of the universe have been created. And if we can learn to work with them, just like we teach ladies how to work with the algorithms, when we learn to work with the things that have been set in place for us. Where's the movie? Yes, you can find it on Netflix. You can find it on YouTube, Eve. So I
And
highly
thank you for
recommend
sharing,
going.
Eve.
Yes, thank you. Highly recommend going to see that, watching that movie. There's a couple different, I think there's, gosh, I can't remember how many different, there's like 1 and 2, I think. But anyway, yeah, you've got to become that which you desire to be. Okay. So that's really, you got to behave. You got to act like you're that person already. You've got to feel what it feels like. You got to talk like that person. So if you have, part of your desire is to manifest, a certain amount of money, well, then you can't go walking around talking about how you don't have any money. You can't go saying, I can't afford this. Okay. Now, does it mean that you go out and just buy anything you want because you're trying to trick your mind into that? No, you're not saying that. But you have to already feel the abundance. You've got to already embrace it. It's a way of letting go of the resistance of what is meant to be yours. Okay. When you have a desire for something in your life, it's there. It's been given to you for a reason. So that means that desire is something that has already come to pass. We see time, ladies, when the real truth about time is that time is, there's really no, it's all played out in one moment. And it's a hard concept to understand. So that's why when we think of the concept of time, it's not really what's really happening in reality. So whatever we see as a desire, something that we want to achieve, it's done. It's done. It's a done deal. You've got to release the resistance to that. Part of releasing that resistance is becoming that, feeling that, and marrying that with your belief.
And Irene, thank you for sharing. So,
Yes.
We talked about this is really the last step, and we already talked about it, but it's just letting go. It's detaching from that. And that feeling, and this happens a lot, and we're human and we have bills to pay, if we're talking about monetary things and finances and such, we're human. And when you feel that stress of like, oh my God, I can't pay the bills. Oh my God, like I have 10 cents in my bank and I'm struggling. It's that feeling of feeling desperate that really repels everything away, regardless of what we're talking about here. That's just one example. But that negative feeling because the emotion piece, like Tash said, they left out in the secret, and that's a huge part of it. It's that emotion. It's like if you go through all of these steps and then your emotion is the opposite of how you want to feel, it's just not working. Things aren't working in your favor. And most importantly is you got to take action. You got to move your booty. And this is a piece that a lot of people miss. It's like, I got my vision board. I'm visualizing it. I'm feeling it. I'm like, I think about it every day. I'm so excited. You're doing all the things and you ain't moving your butt off the couch. You ain't going to get a six-pack sitting on the couch, right? You got to do the things, right? That's, you got to get into action. You got to get into action. You got to do the things.
Yeah. And so that's when that inspiration comes, when you'll get that, that little inspiration, and it's like you'll get that inspiration to do that thing and then do that thing, because every one of those little inspirations to do those things are what are bringing you closer and closer and closer to manifesting that what you desire. So you've got to do, yes. And it would be nice to just be able to sit and visualize all day long and then things just pop in.
Rub your genie.
Yeah, right. Oh, look.
The beach. Uh-oh, what's going on? We are breaking up. Maybe that's a sign we got to go. All right. Well, we'll say bye. We're pretty well done here.